Welcome back to Foreign Friday with yours truly and 22-1 Thomas. We're off the Lingfield turf. The first time in the history of Foreign Friday. We did the all-weather track. I had slight confusion doing my handicapping, but I did figure out that we're going to be on the grass track. Tom, you did mention that one of these races, the trial, was a race. Perhaps the reason we picked
it's considered a prep race. It's a listed race. It's considered a prep race for the Epsom Derby.
Which is something we'll 100% have on Foreign Fridays. Always on Foreign Friday, we tell you there's some free picks, a guaranteed tip sheet. There's a link in the description below. Kindly click on that. Sometime later today, we'll put up all of our picks and commentary right here at horseracingtoday.net. You click on that, you'll find all Tom's comments, my comments, as well as a race replay in the article. We'll also timestamp all the races on the YouTube channel. So you can go ahead and watch each race as they develop tomorrow, Saturday morning, or today, Saturday morning, if you're watching on Saturday, a replay on YouTube. And whilst you're there, hit that HRT gear button right there. Come on over to our gear shop. Get yourself a Horse Racing Today merchandise to support the show and look your absolute fantastic best. Only we can make you look better. We're off to Lingfield, which Tom says is by Liverpool. He's got on an Everton shirt, so there's a whole lot of cross currents going on here today. Looks like the weather track right now is firm, good to firm. I'd say based upon the weather forecast, that's not likely to change. In all likelihood, it'll probably get firmer. Thomas, would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, obviously they're watering, but this is definitely going to be a firm course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a meteorologist. I think we should all be meteorologists. I guess in some respects, players like you and I are meteorologists.
Yeah, because how many times do we, in this country, do we get races moved from the turf?
Quite regularly.
They can't do that there.
Well, what makes us more like meteorologists is we at times make inaccurate predictions, right? We can only a difference between you and me, though, Thomas, and a meteorologist is we can watch a race and we can tell you pretty much throughout the race if our horse has a chance or not. A meteorologist can say, hey, it's going to be sunny and warm, and you're looking out your window and it's pouring rain. So that's the big difference. Race number 3 at Lingfield is 1 mile, 3.5 furlongs. Let's take a look at what the track looks like. 1 mile, 3.5 furlongs, Thomas. This is kind of interesting. They come around and they make that tight turn there. I mean, what's going on here?
That's exactly correct.
That's a pretty weird looking turn because it kind of runs away and then comes back in. So I'd suspect you better be, where would you want to be on that turn? Inside or outside? I kind of feel like you want to cut that turn like NASCAR.
You want to cut it as best you can.
You don't see many tracks where you're running away from the backstretch coming into that final turn. So post position wise.
Well, the first turn is, they start in that little chute area and then they come around, and that's not so bad. It's the second turn that can be a bit hairy.
We got this one looks like 90 degrees, and then over here it's more than 90. It's less than 90 degrees, so it's a pretty unless it's misrepresented.
There's the water jump too. Don't forget that.
Well, that'll be fun. Yes, the flats with a water jump. Sort of like you ever seen that show that John Cena hosts? Was it called Blowout or something like that? Yeah, it's sort of like that. The horses are going to go through that. Yeah. All right, Thomas. Well, with all of that uncertainty,
we got a whopping 5 horses in this race.
Yeah, well, it should be easy to pick the winner then, no?
Yeah, right. I'm going to start with 3 Vice President. It took 3 races for it to break its maiden. Better ran the money in the first 2, so it did okay. Last out, it tried a distance of ground at Newbury, and not much. But I think it needed a start. I think with Ryan Moore today, I think that'll help. Number 2, Power of Destiny is my next choice. First, she had a start in January and the weather and finished 3rd. But it was a 10 furlong race, and took a break. And then at this level at Newcastle on the all-weather, you can forget it. One of her wins is at this distance, and I think with a short field becomes a jockey's race, and I think got a chance. And the odds say it too. Finally, I'm going to take 4, Candyman Stan. He won last time out at Brighton, 12 furlongs in that race. It was the first start. He won by 5 lengths. But today's moving up in class from Class 4 race. This is one that likes to take the lead. And I think that if it can do that, it may be a sneaker and go take them all the way.
We have the same 3 horses. We just flipped the first 2. Although, in the States here, a lot of times the longest shot in a 5-horse race is the one to take. That would be Charlie's Choice. But I started with Power of Destiny. The 2 times this horse won, or 2 out of 3 wins, I think, or when the horse made second starts after a layoff. That's what we're going to get today. So you're going to get its best effort, according to its resume. Vice President is another one. You mentioned Ryan Moore. Can't go wrong with him up there. But it's another horse that its CV says, hey, round 2 off the sidelines should be at least as good, maybe a little better than round 1. And then Candyman Stan. Candyman can. How did that song go, Thomas? Anyway, won his last race by 5 lengths, also making the second start after a layoff. But when you look through the past performances, comparing all-weather to grass, it looks like he might be more of an all-weather horse than a turf course horse. Maybe Charlie's Choice would be better in that spot. It's the longest shot of 5. See what the predictor has to say today, Thomas. Bam! It said Candyman Stan. Our third pick should be our first pick. And hey, look, there's Charlie's Choice in there. Tom, the longest shot on the board could factor in at the end. Maybe they're using the same algorithm as our good friend Stephen Fielder did when we did the Players Edge podcast on how to win those tournaments. Race number 4 is the William Hill Lingfield Derby Trial. Is this the one you were talking about, Thomas, where they're going to end up in the Derby?
Could possibly. That's certainly why Aidan O'Brien's got 2 entries in here.
And again, we got this funky start back here in the chute. Going to come down that first turn is okay. I still probably prefer to be a little bit inside. But then you got to probably work your way around here to make that turn. And a way out here, I kind of feel like being outside is actually a little bit better. The way the image shows. That may not prove to be the case, folks. But watch the first race, race number 3, see how that plays out. And then we'll see how Tom thinks the Derby Trial Stakes will play out.
Oh, we'll start with number 7. Stay True. One race, ran one, won one. Stayed with the leaders initially, and then he faded, and then he re-rallied to win, and he did it by more than 2 lengths. I can call that green, but you can also call that pretty good for one that just getting going.
Mm-hmm.
That was at Leopardstown. It was a 10 furlong race. The reason I went off the favorite, which is Puppet Master, I think there's more upside on this one. And I think the odds kind of indicate that there's interest in this horse. Is it a Derby horse? No. I think that they're more looking for Puppet Master. But I really think it's got some upside. And he's got 2 of them in here, and they're betting it. So somebody likes it. Number 1, Nighttime Dancer is my next choice. Got 1 start as a 2-year-old and ran 3rd. And in this race, this was one of those famous near side, far side type runs.
Mm-hmm.
And it was with the winner on that side. So that 3rd is a pretty good 3rd. Returned in April and with a win in the all-weather at Subtle. But it was not a smooth trip, to say the least. He kind of missed the break a little, sat back, got bumped, but still won by a length. Not bad.
Mm-hmm.
12 furlong race. I definitely want some ground to run on, and I'm going to like the price. So I think I threw him in.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I take 3, Prince of Seas, my final choice. The first start of the season was at Epsom. It's a listed race over 10 furlongs, and the best way to describe his running was green. It was on the bridle early. He shifted left, kept shifting left. And I think he needed a start. He ran well on the all in a maiden win, and he was second on the all weather at Kempton. Nothing in the breeding suggests he shouldn't like this, and this is, again, let's try a little bit of a price.
So I think Ryan Moore with Aidan O'Brien. Ryan Moore rode this horse too. I have to suspect that Ryan Moore had his choice, and he chose Puppet Master. That's my angle there, so I'm sticking to it.
Don't dispute it. I just want to see if I can get a little better price.
Next up, well, you're talking about a little better prices, Thomas. I don't think you're going to get a better price than this one, according to the odds at the moment. Our Enery. That's my second choice. I'm going to take a shot here, Thomas. Last race, if you look at the past performances, you lay that horse sucked. But no, when you dig through the numbers, you find out he ran about 3 seconds faster. That's a lot of improvement that's hidden in the past performances. And usually when you see horses improve that much, they're on the upswing. And we'll see if we can upswing at 28-1. Stay True, that's the other horse. I think Ryan Moore made the right choice. But if not, this one did win its debut with ease. And as you know, if you watch our show, one of the angles I love is horses that are making their second career start, because you just don't know where that upside is. We'll find out on Saturday morning at approximately 10 a.m. Eastern. And then finally, Nighttime Dancer, Thomas. It's another horse that we agree on. Reason I took it, if you look at this field and you pace it out, most of these horses want to be middle forward. I think I designated 2 as closers in this field, and the other closer I didn't feel like would be within enough striking distance. So I think he's going to be rolling late, and if the pace gets a little bit quick, I think he'll pick off a lot of folks at the end. Let's see if the predictor agrees with me on who's going to be picking off whom as they close in on the finish line. Wow. It's going to be Puppet Master, then Prince of the Seas, Rogue Impact, a name that we didn't mention, Nighttime Dancer, one we did mention, Our Enery, and then Rahib in there for maybe a piece of the bronze. Rahib was one I was looking at too, Thomas, and I just settled for a little bit higher odds. It looks like the folks at the predictor semi-agree with that thought process. We're doing 5 races today, Tom. This one's going to be another field a little bit on the shorter side, just 6 horses. I know, because I only have 3 picks, because our good friend Sean gets mad at me if there's a 6-horse field, and I got 4 of them. So I don't want to do that. This time, I think it's going to be the first of 3 consecutive 7-furlong races. In this case, you can see they're going to run downhill, Tom, to the finish line. So they'll be building momentum to the finish line. In these downhill races, 7 furlongs, do you want to be fast up front? Do you just kind of want to set pace? Do you want to just let gravity do its job? What would you do?
Again, the size of the field, I think, dictates. Depending on where the going is good, I'm going to say center. I would think they're going to be, just bunched up, and the ones that need cover are going to sit behind, and they're the ones that will close the quickest, and one of those will win.
You think a closer is going to win?
Yeah.
All right. Well, which one is going to close
at this level? With Group 3, these types of horses, these fillies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Fillies and mares, I should say, but I think they're all fillies. I just think that that's the way to look at it. And with that, I took number 3, Jabara, my top choice. Has 2 starts this season. One was on the all-weather in a listed race at 7 furlongs, and she finished 4th. Of course, that would be a 2-turn race, not a 1-turn. No turn, I should say, would be more accurate. They believed that prep race was good enough, and they sent her to try Grade 1 company at Keeneland at 8.5 furlongs. She performed well up to the 7 furlong marker, and then after that, she faded to 6th. Tells me maybe a little more suited for 7.
Yeah,
what do you say? 1-2 of its 5 races at this distance, and again, bettors kind of think so. Got a good chance. I think so too. 6 is Cathedral, and that's our lone 3-year-old in this race. Gets a nice, generous weight allowance for being 3, and got 2 starts. Got a win in a second. One was in a Group 3, and it was at this distance. I think that's why they're going to roll the dice and see if they can get a winner here.
Mm-hmm.
Lightweight, I think, only going to help. So I'm going to put that one for second. And then finally, I'm going to go with Spiritual as my final choice. That's number 4. And I finished last season with a third at Newmarket. Was going a mile in a listed race. She's won first up before. That was going a mile on a listed race at Sandown. She's won, 3 races at this distance. She has a win at Leicester. It was at a maiden, and she also raced in 2 group races and finished 4th and 8th. Well, she's facing decent enough company. Probably not getting it done yet. I've seen the odds have been wandering a little, but not too much. I'm gonna put her in, see what happens with her.
Well, based on tips, there's 2 tips there, now 3. That's going to be your winner. But I don't agree with the tipsters on that footing. I'm going to go with Cathedral. No tips over there. I think based upon the all-weather performances, I think could be just wrong altogether, but I think the firm footing is going to prove to be a difference maker. I'm going to go then with Great Generation, the 1 horse. The one time this horse ran at Lingfield, it was at 7 furlongs, and it ended up in the winner's enclosure. And the horse has done fairly well, coming off the sidelines after some rest today. And then Jabara, this one doesn't win a whole lot of races, Thomas, but does finish in the money pretty regularly and does finish in the money usually against what I would deem to be stiffer competition. So getting a break against some of the comp today, maybe the horse does win. I don't know. But it seems to me like just looking at it likes to hang at the end and just let other folks get by. Happy with being a silver or bronze medalist. It looks like a very tight race. Jabara, gonna predict her making a liar out of me.
After all that.
Yes. And then it's a toss-up there, it looks like, for who's going to come home with the second prize. Maybe a photo finish.
Dream is still running, I think.
Yeah, that one's tabbed for next Wednesday at Parks.
Yeah.
For sure.
A $5,000 claimer.
Yeah, could be.
Not a Group 3 race.
So remember, when the show's over at horseracingtoday.net, we'll put a link, a description, all of our stuff right here from the show, right there at the middle of the front page. Just click on that. Of course, we got free picks all across the country in the U.S., aggregated by track. And then when you're here, hit that HRT gear button right there, get 10% off. Hey, it might be time to get some sweatshirts, get prepared for the fall. Who knows? It's going to be 85 finally next week in Chicago. Looking forward to that. So get a T-shirt, a tank top, baseball cap, get yourself a barbecue apron, get ready for the season. 10% off if you buy 3 things or more. And of course, free picks, a guaranteed tip sheet every single day. There's a link in the description on YouTube. Please use it so they know from where you came. 2 races to go, Tom, for you and I on this Foreign Friday. Of course, next week is the Preakness at Pimlico. I don't know what sort of international flavor they'll have there. We'll talk about what's on tap at Foreign Friday when we're done with the next 2 races. But real quick, Tom, don't you kind of get the feeling like the Preakness is losing some of its importance?
I think that's been on for a while, going back, a decent amount of time, and and of course it's you get these bigger. It's Saratoga, they're going to run again this year. Certainly a big track, and Churchill and with all the hoopla they do, you got to think they got to do something to make it more
attractive.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think about maybe moving one out to try to revitalize California racing? Maybe throw one out there at Santa Anita or Del Mar?
I think too many traditionalists would probably say no.
Well, they've been running the
legislative and that in Maryland are funding rebuild of they're going to close Laurel ultimately in Pimlico and rebuild Pimlico. They're trying to revitalize it. The model to look at really out there is 2 places: New York by default, and the other I think really has done well is Pennsylvania.
So you throwing at Parks?
Is it that much out of the realm?
Not really. I mean, they have the Pennsylvania Derby that's attracted some
$1 million
big
race. I mean, it attracts a top company. I mean, it doesn't get that grade 1 status because it's not getting decent horses.
Well, I mean, if you got decent horses, I mean, clearly the Preakness would do that. I think that would be great. I also feel like maybe they could, and you mentioned New York, once Belmont opens, maybe it'd be kind of tough though, because Saratoga and Belmont, you'd have to close one and open the other and then open one up back again. So
right. Saratoga switching back to its, just this kind of a one-off, doing it these 2 years. And it's been very successful, to say the least.
So which makes me think they probably want to stick one there for good.
They're going to think about it, I think. And obviously they can handle it. It's kind of certainly a different feel of a track than Belmont will be, or Parks, or even Pimlico. The location of Pimlico is not in a great area.
And they're going to tear Pimlico down right after the Preakness and to get built for next year again. So we'll see if that plays out. I kind of like your idea about Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania, I mean, say what you want about Parks or Penn National, but both tracks, they fields every single day. And
Presque Isle does very well too, with a whole different slant.
So they're doing something right there.
Running surface versus dirt.
What about Monmouth Park? Do you think maybe that can handle it in New Jersey?
Well, it could, but I don't know.
Not your favorite.
I think with its proximity to New York, I would favor New York more than I would favor Monmouth.
I agree. All right, back to Lingfield, which is near, I think you said Liverpool, right?
No, I forget.
It's by England, wherever it is. It's somewhere in England. We know that.
We know someone watching. We know it's there. I just forget where the hell it is.
Yeah, let's see. Who's going to fix Hawthorne in Illinois racing in general? Steve, that's a great question.
Yeah, I wish I knew.
I do know from talking to Dakota, who is basically down there at Hawthorne right now. They are trying their best to make Hawthorne a decent place, but of course, you're limited by what the state's going to allow you to do. You lost what FanDuel went back to Fairmont Park, so they obviously lost a sponsorship, and I don't know if that's good for horse racing. I don't know.
Well, it wasn't sponsorship. It's actually it was a Chicago-based group that took over Fairmont, and they're much more aggressive. They're going to have a hotel there. They're redoing the FanDuel. Really, all they did was want it for a sports book. Proximity to St. Louis. The new group that's in there has made promises, but they're also following through. The other thing is they hired a former Keeneland employee who was a vice president there as their general manager and the president of the operation. I think that move alone tells you they're serious. And they're not horse people that bought them, but they're hiring horse people to run it,
to do it. Yeah. Well, maybe they can find their way up towards Chicago. I mean, there's plenty of properties if you drive through the South Side that are abandoned. I know they pay people to come in and cut the grass, or you can buy it for $1 or $1.50 because you got to keep the grass clean and cut so the neighborhoods look good. There would be no problem probably getting 2 or 3 blocks of abandoned buildings down there and building a track. It would be great if they did it. I don't know that they could. Be interesting. All right, Thomas. Another 7 furlonger, William Hill, Lingfield.
That would be interesting. Human quarter horses don't go that short.
Yeah, well, it would be the nose of the horse to the tail. Which one can get its nose to the line first, right? All right, anyway. So this one's another 7 furlonger. They're going to run down that hill to the finish line. They could They could run down the hill. Who knows?
The lowest part of the course is where that 2-mile marker. There's a little red arrow going down. It gives you some indication.
And then it's going to go back up the hill.
Goes up a little bit, yeah.
So when they're done running uphill both ways to school in the snow, like all of us older people did, Thomas, who will ultimately get to the classroom first?
I'd start with number 9. Brave by Reflection. He's run twice, placed a maiden at Ripon, and then won a novice race on the all-weather at Kempton. Both were 6 furlong races. He does race forwardly placed, and I think that will help him at this level and have a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with 5, Cradle of Love as my next choice. He was run okay efforts when he was a 2-year-old. And then they got aggressive and put him in Royal Ascot, and they put him in a Group 3. And yeah, this is a better race for it. Try the all-weather, a little better. This one's still a maiden. But the subtle race, 2 turns, 7 furlong race, was pretty good. This will be the first race for the new trainer. That last time was the first race, and it showed a little better. I think the distance is fine. There's always going to be a question mark of can it revert to its better form of being as a 2-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly at this level, we're not talking about the highest level of horses. A top-rated horse can be 80 to get into this race. This one's 77.
If my last name was Sangster, I would spend the money and change that S to a G. I mean, to have the last name Gangster, you got to do it. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm going to my final choice is going to be 3, Prince of India. He looks like the best informed horse coming into this race. I mean, granted, he's on the all-weather and he's won at 7 furlongs, and but he'll switch to the turf, same distance. I think he'll perform well in the good to firm. Nothing to suggest he wouldn't, and the odds suggest I'm not completely crazy.
Just everything else does, Tom.
Well, it's a short trip.
Yes, all right. I mentioned before the show got started when Tom and I were talking in the pre-race, I got a little bonkers on this one. Maybe I felt, and I would run away from this race because I felt like when I was going through it, and I think the odds kind of bear this out. What's the favorite in here? 11-2, so almost 3-1. Doesn't look like the odds maker, the bookmakers really have a sense of how this is going to play out. But Leadenhall Street, the 2-horse, got my first choice. I feel like it was a crazy pick. See, look, the only race on turf really was god-awful. I wrote down sucked. I think that appropriately describes it. But I feel like when you look through it and you plot out this race, everybody wants to go forward. This one doesn't want to go forward. So I think it's going to get an excellent trip and have an excellent chance to win. We'll see. Prince of India, and here's where Tom and I start to line up a little bit. So that's why I say I would probably pick anything other than what we've picked here. It's not usual for Tom and I to line up. Prince of India, this horse is making the 3rd start in a row for the first time of its career. My experience with these horses, it's either a boom or a bust. So if it booms, like the 2 tipsters think it will, it's a winner. If it busts, you'll regret playing it. Brave by Reflection, another one.
That's never happened to you, right?
No, I'm always on the boom side, my man. Either boom, I'm throwing it in the trash, or boom, I got it. But Brave by Reflection, I have to consider this horse because the comment in the only grass race said that in the final kick, the horse showed a lot of energy. I probably paraphrased that a little bit. So going back to grass today and getting an extra furlong, that extra kick might be the difference maker. And then finally, the Billy Idol horse here, Cradle of Love. That's a 1990s, maybe 1980s reference, 1990s. This horse, as you pointed out, Tom, hasn't won.
I go with 80s.
The 80s, yeah. Cradle of Love, how he used to do that thing with his lip. Yeah, this horse has not found the winner's circles yet, but its best races were in the second start after a layoff, so we check off that box right here. They spent a whole lot of money on this horse relative to the rest, and as you pointed out, Tom, that budget has been reflected in the competition it has faced prior to today. This might be the lightest group of folks that it's run against, so trying to recoup some of that larger investment. And maybe the folks at the predictor will give it a shot to pay some of those owners back. Let's see. Well, it looks like there's a clear winner. Bang. Prince of India. Hey, look at that. Bonkers pick. Not so bonkers after all. Then the Billy Idol horse. And then, I don't see that other one in there. So
and some other ones.
Yes. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Can't get them all right. Final race for this week, Thomas, is going to be race number 7. I'm going to close out the card over there as we go through the final 5 races at Lingfield on the turf for the first time in the history of 4 and Friday. 5 furlongs. So they're going to shorten up a little bit right here, basically run a little bit down to the bottom and then back up the hill. I imagine this is just a straight sprint to the finish line, Tom.
Yep. And they could split off. It is a big group relatively to some of the other races. And we're not talking about the finest horses either. These is a Class 5 race.
So we might find some of these at parks. But anyway.
Yeah, very possible.
Which one might win and then avoid that fateful event?
Well, I'm going to start with Angie's Land as my top choice, number 9. That's, it's 6 years old. Oh, I'm sorry, 5 years old. And 6, right? Yeah.
It's something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but interestingly enough, that 6 reason I say that is because it has 60 starts.
Oh my Lord, that one doesn't get a day off.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem that way. It's got 7 wins, 11 seconds, and 8 thirds. And it's done it on both surfaces, the all-weather and the turf. Last time she ran 4th. It was decent enough. She quit at the final furlong is the best way to describe it. So maybe needs a little tightening. I think switching back to the turf may help. And, it didn't run badly, but it could, it's definitely got some experience. Number 10, Snow Smart, next choice. Already raced twice at Bath and ran 5th and 6th. And these are in Class 4 races, so it's good. I'm taking a slight drop down. Run 20 times. Run 2nd, 3rd. Very good at doing that. It only has 3 wins and 20 wins places or shows. So yeah, I don't think it's so smart to put them on top, but I think but certainly putting in the money, and it seems to handle the 5 furlongs okay.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I'm going to take number 5, Catching Cunningham. This is my final trip horse. He had an awful trip last time out. He was basically blocked most of the race, and there was some horse under him, but he wasn't able to get going. He did run 6 out of the 14, and that was at Musselburgh. Previous 2 races were at Class 4 level. He's going to drop back slightly, and he likes the good to firm. I just needs a trip, but maybe coming out of the 12 hole will help that.
Yeah, I think he's like to get a good trip, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I'm going to go with Bang the Bell as my first selection here. I just going through all of the past performances again, and it just looked to me like this horse make the most sense out of anybody in the field. The 2 races it's had at 5 furlongs, most recent. I think it was this one at 10 back, so it's a big gap in between the 2. But either one of them would be good enough, I think, to get the job done here. And I feel like there's a ton of speed in this one again. And more often than not, if you're going to have a whole host of horses heading out to the front, speed of the speed is where you want to be because it discourages some of the others. Protest Rally, next on my list of things to do. Nearly all of her recent 5 furlong turf races would do. And this one is, I think, going to get a pretty good trip. As I mentioned, there's a lot of speed in here. Probably sits right off the pace, has enough late energy to finish it up. Catch Cunningham, that's the one you pointed out there, Thomas, as well. I think when you look at the few closers that are in this race, this is the best of the closers, in my opinion. And if it does catch a hot pace, man, this could set up absolutely perfectly for Catch Cunningham. And then finally, Merrimack, the 8-horse, the final selection for this 4 and Friday. It's making the 3rd start after a layoff. The last time the horse ran a 3-race cycle, the 3rd was the best. And why not this time as well? So I like to do those, look at the horses and see what their cycles are because they tend to repeat. Stock charting, I guess. A little bit of horse racing. What do they call it? Astrology. There you go. All right. The winner on the bottom. No, wait. It sure looks like Outer Edge has the win to me there. But Bang the Bell, Thomas, sneaks out the photo over Outer Edge, then Merrimack, Kento, Protest Rally, Catch Cunningham. So a lot of names that we went over. The folks at the Predictor happen to have some agreement with, but it looks like this could be a pretty competitive race. We'll see if that's how it plays out. Thomas, that's it for this Foreign Friday. Any sense of what joy and fun next Foreign Friday shall bring?
Well, we are going to do another Guineas race, the 2,000 Guineas, and that is at the Curragh.
Off to Ireland we go.
Decent racing on Saturday and Sunday at the Curragh. We'll probably take a look at both days.
Beautiful. That sounds like fun. I always like the Irish racing. It seems like you get good odds and good horses there, so that'll be a lot of fun. And it's a track we've done with some regularity, so hopefully we'll have some hindsights built up in the catalog that'll help us pick some nice prices. Of course, if you like to help the show, a couple ways you can do that. You can subscribe to any of our social sites down there. We'd greatly appreciate that. While you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you're watching on X, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. Follow us, share our content, tell all your friends about us. Again, in just a little bit, we'll post everything over at horseracingtoday.net. We will timestamp every race on YouTube, so you can come back and watch each one at your leisure. You can either say great picks or get a good laugh. Either way, it's a winning, it's a winning endeavor. And then, of course, Monday and Tuesday, Terry and I'll be back for Parks. Wednesday, we're probably going to flip over to Delaware Park because we know our friends in Turkey, they love the Delaware racing for whatever reason. Belmont at Aqueduct on Thursday. And then, of course, next weekend is the Preakness, the much maligned Preakness. We'll have all of that wagering guide and more over at Guaranteed Tip Sheet, along with free picks every day. Link in the description. You're going to want to catch all that. Any final thoughts, Tom, before we part ways and start prepping for next Foreign Friday in the Guineas in Ireland?
We'll probably see the parting in the last race at Lingfield.
The parting of the seas.
That group of 5 furlongers at that class level, which would be an interesting level race, I think. And your top selection is going to be the favorite, but I kind of think it's pretty open.
Well, I think if you're getting basically 7-1 on the favorite, that's pretty solid. I would take that.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yes, I wouldn't hesitate on that one.
No, I mean, aside from the fact that I and the Predictor have it first, that would give me plenty of pause. All right, that wraps it up for this Foreign Friday, folks. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. No matter what you're doing for the rest of this weekend, we certainly hope it's filled with God's grace, God's favor, and every single thing you do until we get back together again for Preakness Week ends up in...
we return to the winner's circle, or we return to the winner's enclosure.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us. Have a blessed Friday.